Welcome to another video, Math Magic with Jen. Today I'm going to look at long division, and the common core method we're going to look at is called the CHIPS method. It's also sometimes called the DISC method, and I'm going to help demystify it for you guys and show you how it works. All right, so long division. Fourth grade is typically when students learn long division, and I'm sorry if this is bringing back bad memories, or maybe you're a rock star at long division. So here's an example. A problem might say find 546 divided by 3, and this is your standard way to do long division. How do you teach it, right? How do you get students from step A to step 17? Like how do we get from the beginning to the end? So how we teach it is honestly talking about the topic of fair sharing. And so I'm going to walk you through this. We are going to do the CHIPS method, but before we get there, I figured we'd start off by thinking about something that most of us can relate to, money. Okay. So we're going to look at how do we share 546 between 3, or that would be the same thing as what if we wanted to share $546 between 3 friends? So suppose we have 3 friends that are in business together. They have $546 that they are all entitled to equal share of it. So what you'll see in front of me is that I have 546. So it's expanded form. Now, I will say it may look a little bit weird to you because I'm using hundreds, tens, and ones, and you might be thinking, what about a $20 bill? They're fantastic. But when we're talking about place value, we don't want to talk about $20 bills, $5 bills, or $50 bills. We only want to talk about ones, tens, and hundreds, okay? So that's why I'm using ones, tens, and hundreds. Okay, so imagine this play money. We could do it in front of our whole class, and we could say, okay, let's start with our hundreds. I need to share 500 equally between 3 friends. Okay, what is that? Just looking at the hundreds, what's that going to look like? So I'm hoping everyone's in agreement that each person's going to get $100, and then we have these $200 bills that I've got to somehow split evenly between 3 people. 2 split into 3. Yeah, that's not going to work. So instead, we have to make a trade. So how we're going to trade is we're going to trade those $200 bills, and what they're going to trade for is, of course, 10 $10 bills. So each 100 will turn into 10 tens. So that means that I'm going to have, okay, so these are the 2 extra. Okay. And again, I know some of you are going to say, can't we go to 20s? No, we need to stick to ones, tens, and hundreds because that's our place value system, okay? So here, I'm going to have 10 $10 bills and then another $10 bills. So we'll have a total of 20 $10 bills. Okay, so where we're at right now is that each friend has $100 bill, and now we're trying to share the other 200 as 20 $10 bills. You with me? Okay, so let's talk about those $10 bills then. All right, so originally we had 4 $10 bills. We just got 20 more. So now we have 24 tens. So if you can imagine, we're going to pile out and count out those 24 into 3 piles. Or we would take 24 and imagine dividing it by 3. Okay? So 24 divided by 3, that's one of our math facts that each person would get 8. Otherwise, we could sit and count them out, but that might take a while, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, I don't feel like doing that. So if everybody's in agreement, 24 divides evenly, in fact, exactly, and we get 8 for each friend, and there are no $10 bills left over. Okay, that means we go to our $1 bills. There are 6 $1 bills. And if we're going to share that between our 3 friends, that's going to be 6 divided by 3, which is 2. So each friend's going to get 2. All right. So if you're with me, where we're at, each friend got $100 bill. They got 8 tens after we made the trade, and then 2 ones. So each person got 182 or $182. Okay. Pretty sweet. I'm sure you guys were all following. I hope you were all following that. And more importantly, I hope your 4th graders would be following it. Okay. Yeah. We'd want to present this, get them involved. Don't use real money because, then they might want to say, can I really have it? No, no. Okay, so here's the next piece then. How can we transition this into a Common Core method? I mean, yes, the dollars were great, but there's got to be a more efficient way to kind of show it on a paper. And so this is where we're going to get to our method called the CHIPS method. And what the CHIPS or DISC, sometimes it's also called the DISC method, what it refers to, cleverly enough, is discs or dots. Okay. So I want you to notice that what I have over here on our screen is kind of like a chart. Okay. So this is organizing our process. And we have our hundreds, our tens, and our ones. And by the way, if you're really lazy, which sometimes I am, I just write H, T, and O. Okay. All right. So what we would do, okay, so number one is that you want to have a bit of space here. Okay. I know it looks like we have a lot of extra space. We want that extra space. Okay. So have a little bit of breathing room between our words and our dots. Okay. And what I've got here is our 500 turns into 5 dots or discs under the hundreds. Our 40, because remember our original number was 5, 4, I don't know why that 4 got so weird. 546. So we're going to have 4 tens, so 4 dots under the tens, and then finally 6 ones, so 6 dots under the ones. So this is just like that screen I had a little ways back, which was $500 bills, 4 $10 bills, and 6 ones. Okay, so how is this going to show our dividing? All right, let's do it. How this is going to show it is that we are going to begin just like we did with the $100 bills, and we're going to fair share these hundreds. And each person's going to get 1, and I'm going to cross it off. So you can just cross it off once or X it out, but those 3 are gone. So 1, 2, 3, I handed them out. Okay. Now I keep handing these out if there was another 3 to share. So if we had another 3 to share, I'd go 1, 2, 3 down this. I don't have enough. Okay, so this was just like us having $200 bills left over. Okay, so here's how the CHIPS method works. Any leftover dot, disc, chip, okay, whatever you want to call it, turns into 10 dots in the next column. Okay, so each of these leftover dots is going to turn into 10 over here. Now, what I would suggest with your students is actually writing up top how many you have. So here I started off with 4. I have 10 more dots and 10 more dots. So now we have 24. So now that's what I need to fair share. So we would then fair share 24 into these 3 groups. So here's my 3 people I'm sharing it between. So we'd sit here and we could either count out 24 or just 24 divided by 3, you're going to end up with 8. So we're going to have 8 in each row. Okay. Now, we got lucky. There aren't any left over. If we had any left over, we would circle it and go over. So here, all of them crossed off. So I'm just going to do a big X to show that all of them crossed off. And then finally, we'd go ahead and fair share the 6 that are remaining. So when I fair share that 6 remaining, I would count those out. And that's what you're going to see on the next slide is going ahead and handing out. You'll notice I wrote 24 up top, handed them all out. And then we've got 6 ones that I'm going to hand out. And we don't have any left over. So this would be, so no left over. So that means we have a remainder of 0. Okay, now, where's our final answer? Our final answer is count how many each person got in the chart. So each person got 1 in the first column, each person got 8 in the middle column, and each person got 2 in the last. So we have 182 or 182. All right. So this is the same idea as having those $100 bills, passing them out, trading the hundreds for tens, having 24 tens, passing them out, and then 6 ones and passing them out. It's just instead of having bills and instead of having to draw all of those bills, we're drawing dots instead. Okay, so if you're ready, we're going to do a problem from start to finish. I'm going to walk you through it of how this is going to work out. Okay. All right, so as you can see here, I have 857 divided by 4. So I've started us off by drawing the 8 hundreds, right? So this is 800. So I've got 8 dots under the H, 50. So I've got 5 dots under the tens, and then I'm going to have 7 dots under the ones. Okay, now this is optional, but I like to imagine that this divided by 4, these are the 4 people, right, that we're handing dots out to. So that's why I write 1, 2, 3, 4. That's up to you if you want to write it or not. But I like to just know how many I'm handing out. Okay, so we're going to share 8 between 4 people. So 8 shared between 4 people. Each one's going to get 2, or you can actually count it out. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So we just handed out 4, and then do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. No leftovers. Okay, so the hundreds, we had exactly the right amount of hundreds to hand out, no leftovers. Okay, so let's go over the tens now. So I'm handing out tens. There's 5 tens. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, not enough to hand out. Okay. The second we have an extra one, we're going to write it over in the next column, but it's going to turn into 10 dots. And I like students, I'm going to do this too. I'm going to write down how many we're handing out now. So I had 7 and now I have 10 more. So now we're handing out 17. And if we want to, we can say that we're handing out 5 and we're handing out 8. So we could do it all the way along of writing out how many we're handing out each time we're there. Okay, so I'm going to hand out 17 between 4 groups. So you might even ask your students what's 17 divided by 4. They're going to say that doesn't divide evenly or exactly. Okay, well, what's the closest one? 4 times 4 is 16. So what's going to happen here is that each person or each group here is going to get 4. Okay, so we can count it out. We're to 8 now. We're to 12. And finally 16. So we basically crossed off everything except for 1. So I'm just going to do a giant cross off to make it go a little bit faster. This is our 1 left over. So we have a remainder. Okay. So what's my final answer? I have 2, I have 1, and I have 4, and a remainder of 1. So 857 divided by 4 is 214 with a remainder of 1. Okay. Now, what I'd like to do is go ahead and show you what this looks like because we want to match it up to the standard algorithm, right? Because the CHIPS method is cool. CHIPS, DISC, whatever you want to call it, it's cool. But we also want them to just do long division. So let me go ahead and help you make that connection between the two. Okay, so here we go. All right, so if you think about it, when we start off, so I know I've gotten it written to the side here, but let's just talk about the first thing that we would do. We would take 4 into 8, and 8 goes 2 times. Sorry, 4 goes into 8 twice for 8. And I have a remainder of 0, okay? So let's look at our chart. I had 8 hundreds. Each person got 2, no leftover. So what we're seeing here, and you can even see it here, I color-coded it, is that here I've got each person got 2, no leftovers. Okay, awesome. Then I go to the 5. So 5, each person's going to get 1. So 4, so we would bring the 5 down. 4 goes into 5, once for 4. And I have 1 left over. So let's see what happens. I was able to hand out 1 to everybody, 1 left over. That 1 left over carried over. And you can see it here when I bring down the 7. Notice I have that 17. See it? And then we keep going. So what's happening here is that if you've ever done long division and got kind of stuck, either yourself or working with a student of, how come sometimes you have some left over and sometimes you don't? Like this first example, I had nothing left over to carry over. And this one I had 1. Why? So what the CHIPS method is doing is showing that we have sometimes things hand out exactly, so we don't have to carry over. Other times I do have something left. And every time you have something left, each of those dots turns into 10 the next column over. So if I had 2 dots, it would turn into 20. If I had 3 dots, it turned into 30, and on and on and on. All right. If you'd like to see another example of this, hold on. I'll show you one more. But just some thoughts before we wrap up here. This is not a long-term method. We don't want students to be, in high school and still doing the CHIPS method if they don't have to. So it's just an idea to show how long division works. I really do like the idea of introducing it with play money, but I think it's not good for bookkeeping. Plus, you got to think fourth graders, they're not going to want to sit there and tediously, hand out money over and over again. The dots are tedious enough. And hopefully, they're going to get to the point where they're making that connection between the chips and the long division. I think it's very, very good to have the two together. Okay. So don't forget you can have students check their answers. So in the last problem, we had that, I believe it was 857, divided by 4 was 214 with a remainder of 1. Okay, well, all you have to do to check it is we could take 214 times 4. You're going to notice we didn't get back to 857, and that's because I know if you have a remainder, you have to add that on to the end to get back to the original. If it's a remainder 0, then when I multiply those two, I'm going to get right to it. For those who are done, go ahead, have a wonderful day. I'm going to go ahead and do one more for anyone who wants to stay on and see one more problem. All right. So we're going to do one more problem here, and that's 658 divided by 5 using the CHIPS method. So the first thing you're going to want to do is write our chart. So hundreds, tens, ones. Okay. And I've got my 658. So that would be 6 dots or chips or discs for 600. 5 for the tens, and then 8 for the ones. So I'm going to draw some lines down. Give yourself a little bit of space because if we end up having to carry over any more, we're going to have to write 10 dots, okay? And then we're going to go ahead and share them into 5 groups. All right, let's get this party started. Okay, so what I've got is we have 6. I'm going to go ahead and write 6 right now. I've got 6 dots to share among 5 people. So everyone's going to get 1. I have 1 left over. Okay, that 1 that's left over is going to come next door, and each 1 that comes over is going to turn into 10. What I think is important is the moment you're getting ready to hand stuff out, ask your students to tell you how many total they have. So we had 5, we've got 10 more. So we're now handing out 15. Okay, so 15 shared between 5 people. Yeah, each group's going to get 3, or each person's going to get 3. They all cross off, so I've got no leftovers. So I'm just going to write no leftovers just for bookkeeping purposes. Okay, and that means that I'm going to now have, let's see, that was 8 over here. So now I'm going to hand out 8. So if I hand out 8, I'm going to have each person gets 1. Got 3 left over. No, when you have leftovers in the ones column, that's your remainder. So this would be a remainder of 3. Okay, so let's talk about our answer. So I have 131 with a remainder of 3. So 658 divided by 5 is equal to 131 with a remainder of 3. Awesome. Woo-hoo! Give yourself a high five. Awesome. Good job. You guys did great. And with that, have a wonderful day. We'll see you next time. I should probably have my little slide that says see you next time, but we'll just call it a day that way. So have a great one. I'll see you next class or next video. My next group of videos is going to be on fractions. So if you want some help with fractions, tune in and you'll be able to see those. Have a good one. Bye-bye.